So top
followed
10,
by followed by 24 in my opinion.
question. The top five draft classes. We're gonna kind of go back and forth and talk about our favorite ones. I kind of look at like, do you get a star at the top? I look at also you knowing your needs and getting depth with your team, and also I like late round big school. Like I don't, I really like because those guys know what it's like. So I'm gonna go first, and a draft that I liked a lot. Well, we're the Dallas Cowboys picking at number picking at 12. They got Tyler Booker to kind of secure that inside of the offensive line. Donovan Ezerique from Boston College, one of the most efficient pass rushers in all college football.
Mm,
If Siobhan Reveal, he just screams Cowboys. No question about it.
yeah,
Jadon Blue gives him that guy who can just
I
like
think he's a deep sleeper. I'm
yeah
telling you, I think
yeah
it's a deep sleeper.
yeah he can flat out get up and go
He
and
is explosive. He's way more explosive than Miles Sanders or Javante Williams.
yeah, no question about it. So like I like him a lot. Cornelius again, like a big school interior offensive line. I like that. I mean I do a children's show, so me saying I like a Bruin, I gotta make sure everybody whatever. But Jay Toya. I like Jay Toya as a defensive lineman. He also played under the current USC head defensive coordinator Danton Lynn, who has ties to the Ravens and he plays a pro style defense. So I like him as well. And this is a team where they took Phil Maffa, who was a running back from Clemson. Somebody asked me the other day, "Hey, you were begging the Raiders to take two running backs. Who took two running backs in this draft? The Dallas Cowboys did. So I like this draft a
Among
lot.
a few other teams.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
I I, I like this draft a lot for the Cowboys. They went a lot of interior, and they also went. They get the physical gifted corner. Hopefully he's healthy, and Ravel. And I also love what they did in their backfield. They had some nice dimensions there. You know,
yeah.
you gotta have that power running game to help out Dak Prescott. I think if you get that play action game going for him, and he's able to stay healthy, the sky's the limit for that team. They just have to. I just don't know if they have the coach to take it to the level, but the Cowboys always have good talent. Like
Yeah.
like Steve,
They draft well. They've drafted well for a
they
long
draft
time
they,
now.
they draft well. Why don't you go with your first guy? One of your teams that you like.
So unfortunately, gonna have to go with an AFC West team. I thought the Los Angeles Chargers had a phenomenal draft. I thought there was a huge mistake by Denver in allowing Omari Hampton to fall past them. They took Jahdae Barron, who I thought they should have taken Omari Hampton. I think Hampton with the Chargers is a home run. I think he's explosive. I thought he was clearly the second best running back in this draft. I thought he was exactly what Jim Harbaugh was going to need for skill position on that. He can run, he can catch, he can block, he can do everything they're going to ask of him, and he's not even going to be the lead in terms of are going to need to play the lead because they have Najee Harris to a 1 year deal, a 1 year $5 million deal for Najee Harris where they can give him 250 touches if they need to and let Omari Hampton just eat in space every single time as an efficient runner, an efficient pass catcher, and an efficient run blocker or a pass blocker that he needs to be a complete running back.
Mhm.
Trey Harris fell to them in the second round. They got the number at pick 55 from Ole Miss. I think Trey Harris is great. I had a fringe first round, second round grade on Trey Harris. I thought he was an excellent pick for them. Another weapon that Justin Herbert's going to need. Jamari Caldwell is their big one technique type of guy that they're going to need to play in the middle. You put him in that on that defensive line with Tui Peloto, who's awesome, as well as bringing Khalil Mack back on the fold for that defensive line. He's a huge body. He's going to be a run stuffer for them. They're going to be tough and fierce up front in the front seven. They're going to be quick and quality in the secondary, and they're going to, I think, control a lot of the clock as they like to do with that Jim Harbaugh style of coaching. Kyle Kennard adding more to that defensive line, I thought was a great pick. I did not think he was a fourth rounder from South Carolina, edge rusher. I thought that was another play. But my sleeper of this entire draft class for them is one of my favorite players in the fifth round, Oronde Gadsden the second. They have Tyler Conklin there now, not going to be anywhere near as athletic as Gadsden. If Gadsden picks up the offense at all in any capacity, they're still in need of superior pass catchers when they have Latin Conkey, Quentin Johnston, and then obviously adding Trey Harris. with Amari Hampton. I think Gatson can carve out a massive role for this team as a receiving option for them eventually. I think he's explosive. I thought he dealt with a pretty nasty injury in college, but that didn't stop him because when he came back, he had another fantastic year from being a converted wide receiver. Dad played in the league, has the legacy and the pedigree, has a great coaching system, a great quarterback that's gonna open up space for him to be able to go. I thought that was my favorite pick of them. And then another good pick at late was RJ Mickens from Clemson, the safety. So they added secondary help with that in their last pick. So I really, really, really liked their draft. I thought they had a really excellent draft, and that's just my number. That's just my start right now. I got a couple others that I really like too.
Cool. So we're gonna roll, keep going with this, and I like, and I think the thing about the thing that you have the for the Raiders thinking about it too is like you already have the established, you have the 100% established teams, and then you have a team that can make a jump, like like the New England Patriots.
Yeah,
The New England Patriots, they have a quarterback, like he can make some plays. We saw that he's a guy who can actually move and everything like that. And then you get him a left tackle who's big and nasty, and who knows what happens if he goes if he goes inside one day. But right now he's a guy who's playing. Will Campbell will be playing left tackle for the New England Patriots. Then you also have a guy like Trevor Henderson who's going to help them in that backfield. Yeah, you have him and Ramondre Stevenson.
yeah.
That's going to help. Kyle Williams gives them more depth at wide receiver. They need to get. It's really important that New England Patriots like do a good job of landing on their skill position players because
Yeah.
they didn't do it during the Belichick era. He really struggled in that area. And then you also have a situation where like a lot of free agents are not running to New England to play football. So so as far as wide receivers go, and if they do, then you end up getting guys like Stephon Diggs, who is
And pay him a lot of money.
who's playing a lot of money for that as well.
Mm-hmm.
I think we both like Craig Woodson from Cal, the safety.
Love him.
Joshua Farmer, really good defensive lineman there. You got an edge in Swinson from LSU. And then I think the big school guy I like at the end. So they got rid of the long snapper for that team, and
Yeah.
they ended up bringing in Julian Ashbury, Marcus Bryant, 7th round. They had 7th round picks. Like I said, Missouri, SEC, tackle. Like they're trying
Big bodies. Big body.
They went inside earlier in the draft in the 3rd round to get Jerry Wilson from Georgia. So the guys who are playing against NFL bodies come to New England. That's why I don't like. That's why I'm not. That's why I'm thinking I don't like to reach for FCS players if I maybe one guy, but like I don't want to have a
The
bunch
hit
of guys.
rate is so low on those guys. It just is. It's just
100%,
low.
100%, 100%.
Why are you lessening your chances to hit on a guys
You're
like that? It just makes no sense to me.
You're
They
looking
took 3 of them. The Raiders took 3 of them.
looking for the exception instead of what actually really
Yeah.
really works.
Can I say something real quick about the Patriots draft?
Yeah.
I've talked to a bunch of LSU guys, and Braden Swinson apparently should not have gone in the 5th round. There were character issues, attitude issues, but when he is on, they really think that guy is a premier defensive playmaker at edge. He's a really good pass rusher, and they felt like going in the 5th round was only due to there's attitude, character issues, and stuff like that.
Okay.
But if you put that guy in the right system, apparently they feel strongly about him being able to produce early and often for the Patriots. That might be a sleeper steal for them.
So listen, you have to, what did one of the guys who he said when you build your football team, you're gonna have not to say he's a car thief, but he joking around said like you're gonna have car thieves and choir boys on your team. So so I don't mind taking a chance on a guy, you can insulate him. I mean, and you try to make it work. If it doesn't work, the 5th round pick, then you cut him, and then you say, hey, listen, we gave you an opportunity. So we'll see from there. But I had the Pats here. Who do you have? Who do you have next on your list?
Also, shout out to Howie Long, who made a similar sentiment about coming from Hofstra, I believe, to the Raiders, where he's like, you go down to every Catholic choir boy in college at Hofstra, or I believe, or one of the colleges, I believe it was Hofstra,
No,
and then
it was Nova. Nova.
oh, okay, yeah. So
Yeah, yeah,
go and then going to the Raiders with
yeah.
Alzado and
Exactly.
Matusik and Ted
Yeah.
Hendricks and all those guys. So
Culture shock.
culture shock, indeed.
Yeah.
The next one, this is less about. I think they got a star with their draft picks. I felt like they played the board like absolutely phenomenally. Is Pittsburgh Steelers. I don't think you can point to one guy and be like that guy's going to be an All Pro like right off the gate. But I think what they do is they're trusting their coaching staff and Mike Tomlin and the culture of the Steelers because I think Derek Harmon is fantastic. I thought he could play all over the line. I think he's a versatile defensive tackle. I thought the Dolphins made a mistake by taking Kenneth Grant because I did not think even if you want to play him at the one technique for that defensive line, that he should have been the second defensive tackle off the board. I know they do different things, but I think if you wanted versatility and a guy who can play inside and plug up the hole and be a big body guy in the middle, I thought Harmon was a fantastic pick for them at 21. They didn't have a second rounder, and they still got Caleb Johnson, who I think is a premier starter in the NFL. He was my third running back coming out. I had him higher than Trevion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. So for me personally, my value, getting that guy in the third with a powerhouse team like the Steelers, who like to run the football and need a premier running back to start, I thought was a fantastic pickup for them. They turned around and added another quality type of Steeler. Like this guy, there's no other guy that on this full list that you think is a prime Steeler than Jack Sawyer from Ohio State. And they got him in the fourth round. That guy is a 4-year starter, I believe, at Ohio State. One of the, he's a national champion. He was a leader with like the vocal leader of their defense. But just a guy that really, really loves football. A absolute stud off the edge. He can play off the line. He's versatile. That you can play him off that. He's going to come in and be a great addition to their front seven. A guy that's loud. A guy that you want to be a leader. That's vocal. I think he's a perfect Pittsburgh Steeler, Jack Sawyer. I think he's going to be a great pick. And then they landed their quarterback. I don't think Will Howard is a guy that they're just using as a cast off. I think Will Howard is going to be a guy that's going to be given an opportunity early to compete for that starting quarterback job. He's another guy that's just out there, a national champion, a guy who's given a second opportunity in college to be really good. He won a national title with Ohio State. He was good in that system. They had weapons all over Ohio State. They have weapons at Pittsburgh for him to utilize in that regard. Like if he really challenges out for the Mason Rudolph stuff, if Aaron Rodgers doesn't sign, Will Howard could be a guy that you do see. Even if Aaron Rodgers does sign, Will Howard could be a guy that beats out Mason Rudolph pretty easily. And then it's challenging for that spot if Aaron Rodgers struggles at all at 41 or whatever the case may be, or if he doesn't sign at all. So I thought they got really great players. Yaya Black from Iowa. They added another defensive lineman. That is technically four defensive linemen in that regard for them. Like they are loading up their front seven for Pittsburgh, and I thought they got good value basically everywhere.
Yeah. The Steelers. Obviously waiting for Aaron Rodgers to see what happens there. I wouldn't be waiting this long. I would have been giving him an ultimatum, but that's neither here nor there. Jacksonville Jaguars. I tell you, I mean, I just reading. I mean, maybe I'm a sucker for a good story too, but I'm reading about that about their GM. He's a guy who's just don't let it. He's kind of like that. Like babyface assassin, if you will. Like we talk about Steph Curry being that you don't think he has that killer mentality. This guy has it, and that's reason, and that's one of the reasons why he went and he got a GM job at like whatever 32, 33, however
34, yeah, something 34, crazy,
something crazy like that. And he went out there and he said, you know what? I feel like on my board, Travis Hunter is the best player in this draft. I'm going to go get Travis Hunter. And they're going to use him as a wide receiver. They're going to use him as a cornerback. They're going to find ways to keep him on the field. And Travis Hunter is a tremendous athlete. He can do it. He can do it all. We'll see if he can get open as far as like press coverage in the National Football League. But, once he catches one deep ball, then you gotta play off coverage. Like, what I mean? So
once he burns, he wants.
Exactly. But like, you know what? If you have conviction about a guy, don't play it safe. Go get your guy, and then we'll see what happened there. Pursue Tootin, Virginia Tech. I mean, the good running back, good running back draft. They get him. I like Jack Kaiser from Notre Dame. Also, like I said, late round, big school. John O'Maiheim played almost every snap for USC as center last year, so they
Just
get
a solid addition to add a guy like that to your room.
yeah, I mean that, and then also you get LaQuint Allen as well, another quality running
Yeah.
back from
They've
a
got two quality running backs on roster and still took two running backs out of this draft.
what a concept! My God, can you have too many? And let's be honest. I mean, the way the NFL is, like those are the guys who the linebackers and running backs are the guys who are running down the field on kickoffs and punts. So
Yeah.
so whatever. And then also, I mean, I think Allen was also on one of the highest scoring teams in college football last year
Syracuse.
with Syracuse. So
Mhm.
shout out to him for that. But I do like I said, late round guys. They take a chance on a guy from Navy. So we'll see what he is. But I do like when teams like if I'm looking at my draft, I will take a chance on a historically black college guy or
Yeah.
FCS guy, one guy, not multiple, but one guy. And but then everybody else, when I get to that late rounds, like what big school guy who has a lot of experience is around, and they got that with Mannheim, and they got that with Allen.
Yeah, I really liked their draft. I want to echo a little bit about what you said about Gladstone because their general manager, like, that's gutsy, man.
Yeah,
It's all guts. They gave up a first round pick, a second round pick. Like they gave up a haul, and they're like, I want this guy on my team, on my football team. This guy's a star.
yeah,
We want a star player. We're gonna pay for a star player, and this is what we're gonna get. They have a quarterback that they paid. They have offensive weapons. They hired a new coach who's offensive minded, who will likely be able to successfully get Travis Hunter the ball when they need to,
yeah,
along with a star that they drafted last year in the first round, and Brian Thomas Jr. They have, they have the tight end position is the only thing that if they really truly believe in Brendan Strange in that regard, then it's probably locked up for them. But they could have added a little bit more into that, I think, with this tight end class that they do have. But it's not a knock on them. I thought they did really well solidifying around Trevor Lawrence, which is the goal. You have a franchise
yeah,
quarterback that you need to build around. You're going to get guys there that you're in love with in order to add to that skill position with your head coach, who is an offensive minded play caller. So I thought it was great.
yeah. What you got?
So unfortunately, going to have to go with yet another AFC West team. I thought Kansas City had again a great draft. They continue to have really, really good drafts. They obviously most general managers are going to be around 50-50. I think that Beach is a little bit better than that with his picks. I thought the idea that the 2022 class lost their first playoff game in the Super Bowl this year is pretty crazy to think about when all those guys, those guys were drafted 3 years ago, and
Mhm.
that's the first playoff game they've lost as a draft class in that regard. So they are obviously got a lot of talent up and down the boards for that team. But starting off with Josh Simmons from Ohio State, they actually made a swap with the Eagles, which I thought was strange. They had the 31st overall pick, and then they swapped, and the Eagles moved up one. They
Yeah,
must have got some information that someone was going to try to take Jihad Campbell in that regard. I don't know what information they got from that, but they just made a one pick swap, got an extra pick, took the offensive tackle who most people thought they were going to take anyway in that regard, which was an offensive lineman.
mhm.
Turned around and took Omar Norman Lott from Tennessee, who's a
Love
big
it,
body defensive tackle,
love him,
really great player.
love him.
Ashton Jalot from Louisville is also a nice pick in third round, but where they get real busy, I think, is the last three rounds of their draft. Jalen Royals, I did not think was a fourth round pick. I thought he was a much better player than that. I thought he was a fringe second round talent, that I would have justified taking him in the high second, in the middle of the third. In that regard, for him to fall to pick 133, to be as talented as he is, I think is going to be a massive boon for them. They need explosivity there. They need a complete package. Rasheed Rice is coming off the ACL tear, but after him, there isn't a whole lot. I don't think Xavier Worthy is going to be a guy that you can rely on to be in every single type of or every single down type of wide receiver. I think Royals can be that. And with them having Juju Smith-Schuster, Xavier Worthy, Marquise Brown, there's just not a lot of consistency there with those teams anymore. And I genuinely believe that Rasheed Rice and Jalen Royals are going to be the 1-2 punch for them as wide receivers moving forward. He's excellent. Then they turn around and take Jeffrey Bossa from Oregon, the linebacker, in the fifth round, who, again, I do not feel like was a fifth round talent. I thought he was higher than that. I wouldn't have been shocked to see him higher than that. Complete player in my opinion, his position. It's a shallow linebacker class, and I think he was one of the 5 or 6 best linebackers in this draft class. They get him in the fifth round. And then, as they're prone to do, they take an explosive wide running back in the seventh round, which is the deepest position in this draft, in my opinion, was the running back position. They took Brashard Smith out of SMU for the seventh round. They got Pacheco in the seventh round. They got Brashard Smith in the seventh round. Their running back room is going to be full of guys with chips on their shoulders that love to run the football, that are explosive, that are going to get it in the offense in that regard when they take advantage of their opportunities. They're not going to feel like these guys were handed these carries. They're going to feel like every carry that these guys get in the running back room are going to be earned. It's just a great addition to their team. I thought they had a great draft.
Yeah, and also so you got Pacheco there, you got Kareem Hunt there, you got Brashard Smith there, and you got Elijah Mitchell as well too from San
Yeah, from
Francisco
San
as well.
Francisco,
San
right?
Francisco.
Yeah.
So they do have some opportunity. They got guys an opportunity there. I will
A
say
lot of
this.
versatility. A lot of versatility in the running
Yes.
back room.
I mean, it's wide open. And I mean, it's not like to me. It's all about obviously when rookies don't play, running backs don't play is because of pass pro. So if I was those rookies, I would definitely get my pass pro
Yeah.
down ready to go. But I don't think Pacheco has a stranglehold. I think they have a situation where they'll play the best guy. They don't really
Yeah.
care. I would say also too.
Andy Reid is fickle like that. He will
Yeah,
play the best guy.
yeah. He don't have time for that.
He'll often play the best guy who had the best practice in his running back
Yes,
room, let alone the whole season.
Yeah, there's no question about it. So I'm gonna say, as far as I don't usually go for punters as well, but like their punting game, I'm not sure. I mean, it's Matt, or they don't punt very often. I mean, I guess I mean the old school Chiefs didn't punt very often, but this team does. They do punt, but like Matt
Areza?
Areza is one guy who they hit up on the roster, but I only know Eddie Slipinski because he is a former Trojan, and he was one of the best he's one of the best kickers, one of the best punters in all college football last year, if not the best punter in college football last year. So that was a good pickup for them as well. He was great at he could boom it, and he also was really great at coughing corners as well. So that should be fun to see if he if Eddie and Matt go at it there as well. So you took one of mine. That was the first one. The first one we had where it was the same. So it was so you and I both had the Chiefs as one of our top guys.
Yeah.
Let's see here. I'm gonna go to Giants right here next. I think that
one.
I think the Giants are one of the Giants in my mind. Like, okay, they were in a tough situation. It is what it is. They had they had to watch a division foe win a championship with one of their most heralded players in their franchise history, and Saquon Barkley, right? So they go to his alma mater and go get a guy who they really feel like is going to be a great edge rusher for them. Kind of that typical New York Giants, go get the quarterback, Michael Strahan, the Lawrence Taylor type guy, and Abdul Carter. You love that. And then they did what we were begging, our team to do, but they didn't do. And I don't care whether or not Jackson Dart fails. They went out there and they were aggressive, and they end up they got a top guy, one of the top 5 guys in the draft, and they got a star, and which is one of my things. Go at the top, go get a star, and knowing your needs, go get a quarterback. They got a quarterback. I really like Darius Alexander as well from Toledo.
Mm-hmm.
The 2 guys who I thought were most interesting players in the draft, for a lot of reasons, was Cam Skattebo and I just talked about him, the guy who was in the Jaguars, Travis Hunter. I would have been nervous to take both of those guys because I'm not sure what they're going to be on the next level. Like the kind of experimental
the upside
guys.
is risky.
The upside could be risky, but like obviously, we all know Hunter's a better player than Skattebo, but if Skattebo works out, then hey, you got a guy at running back who Giant fans are gonna love to watch mash through the NFC East. And then they went to go Thomas Fidone the second, tight end out of Nebraska, and then you also get Marcus Mbu from Purdue, a tackle try to get some line help as well too. So I thought they didn't have as many picks there, a lot of people because they made the trade. But like, listen, take your chance. Take your chance at the quarterback. Take your chance at
Yeah.
take your absolute chance. Do I think in a real quarterback draft, I think he is a probably maybe a late second rounder, Jackson Dart. But you already got the guy you already got a top five player in the draft in Carter. Why not take a shot at Dart
Some
and
people think the number one player in the draft.
yeah, and like let's just see what let's see what Dart has. I mean, like, he has a lot to learn. It'd be good if he could sit for the whole year, but they might be in a position where they have to play him. But I think the Giants did a good job here, just like just being aggressive. Like when you're aggressive, I'm gonna kind of like your draft a little bit more than people who aren't aggressive.
Yeah. If you, I mean, like as we echo with the Raiders, like if you never take a swing, you're never going to make a hit on a quarterback, and you miss 100% of the shots that you don't take.
Yeah.
So if the Giants feel like he's a first round talent and he's going to be the guy that they can mold into a franchise quarterback, they traded up to get him after they used their premium pick on Abdul Carter, who a lot of people think is going to be one of the best players out of the draft. Adding him, mind you, to a defensive line that has Dexter Lawrence on it, Kayvon Thibodeau, and Brian Burns, three unbelievable talents, all first round talents, by the way, all first round picks, all producers in the NFL, all good players to a defensive line. Now you add Abdul Carter, who can be a superstar, who's not going to be insulated by being the only player on the defensive line that can get pressure on them. They probably, you could make the argument outside of Philadelphia that they have one of the most talented defensive lines in all of football. So I agree. I thought the Giants had a great pick, great draft. I mean, up and down, they're up and down. Joe Shane really needed a good draft, and I think he did it.
Yeah, no question about it. Here, you got one?
Yeah, so we're gonna start off with the number 2 pick. It was Cleveland. Cleveland Browns. They start off the draft immediately with trading their second overall pick to Jacksonville. They pick up an extra first, an extra second, I believe an extra fourth next year. They already had two third rounders in this draft. A lot of people feel like they're not going to take the quarter. They weren't going to try to get the quarterback in this. Leading up to it, we saw a lot of the reports that Cleveland just has no interest in finding their franchise quarterback in this draft. Feels like that they wanted to move out, let someone else move up to get that player that they wanted, and not have to worry about taking Jackson Dart or Shedeur Sanders and those with any kind of premium picks in that regard, in order to lessen the impact of taking a guy if they're planning for next year. Ownership came out and owned the Deshaun Watson thing, put the onus on themselves, not on the coaching staff or the general manager. Took Mason Graham, who a lot of people think is the best defensive lineman in the draft next to Abdul Carter. With that 5th overall pick that they did get, they had an extra second in which they took Quinshon Judkins out of that. So in trading Travis Hunter, they get an extra first next year and what many believe is to be a franchise running back in Quinshon Judkins. They took Schlesinger. There's only really three linebackers that people had first round grades on. Schlesinger is one of them. They got him with the first pick in the second. I really like the Harold Fannin pickup, even though they have Njoku over there, tight end. They need pass catchers all up and down there. They addressed skill position players. They addressed their defense like significantly in their front seven. They got who many people believe is the best defensive tackle in the draft. They put him next to their the best defensive player in the NFL, which is Myles Garrett, or at least 1A, 1B guy in that regard. Then they tackle the quarterbacks. They tick the flyers on the guys that you didn't think they were going to take the flyers on. They picked Dylan Gabriel, who do I think he was a third rounder? Do I think he was the third or fourth best quarterback in the draft? No, they did. And you have to appreciate a team that always goes after the quarterback. Then they doubled up on running back by taking Dylan Sampson, who was an excellent player at Tennessee, who could likely be a starter for them in their system if they didn't have Quinshon Judkins. So now they have 2 young, hungry running backs who are major producers from college. Judkins is a 4-year starter at Ohio State. They're going to add him to the Stefanski offense, which is a run friendly type of offensive system that they have. They have a good offensive line there. And then they take quarterbacks to be like, if one of you is going to do it, like it's basically that Joker scene from The Dark Knight. They break the pool cue, they drop it in between the 3 guys, and they said, whoever wins is going to be added to the team. That feels like what their quarterback position is going to be like. And the guy that takes over is going to have really good players and a really good system to take advantage of that. With Fannin and Njoku, with Jerry Jeudy, with Dylan Sampson, with Judkins, with Jerome Ford's coming back. So, like, they have players there that's going to be able to supplement this offense. And they've set themselves up for the future to take a star quarterback in case this season goes awry. I personally don't think Deshaun Watson's ever going to play for the Browns again. There's a chance he might not even play football ever again, based off these injuries and this everything that's around him in that regard. So I think, given that situation and the fallout, where they it felt like they finally could say we're going to play, and we're going to have an offseason that does not revolve around Deshaun Watson ever again. We
Yeah.
are now past the point where we can worry about the Deshaun Watson thing now that ownership has addressed it and they feel like he's probably not going to play again. We can now rebuild our team the way we want to in our image. Andrew Berry killed it in the draft. I can't wait to see what these young guys do, but they set themselves up for next year big time for that. Great draft, starting off with an awesome trade for them.
Next thing I'm gonna do real quick is this is the last squad I'm gonna do. I think there was a theme, and there was also a thing where they just said the Bills just said, "Hey, like we have the quarterback, we need to go stop people. We need to have young athletic bodies in here to stop some of these offensive teams in the AFC." So they went out there and get Maxwell Harrison from who's the QB for most publications a CB3 in this draft at 30. They end up getting TJ Sanders, defensive lineman from South Carolina, Landon Jackson, edge from from Arkansas. And an interesting pick here with Deion Walker. Deion Walker is a huge individual. He is a gigantic.
Him and Landon Jackson are both gigantic dudes.
Yes,
they're enormous.
Yes, the issue with Walker is can he like the low man wins. So like can he do what he needs to do in order to to get low enough to become an impact player?
Is he athletic enough?
Is he athletic enough? Because like there are tapes of him, the tapes of him in the Senior Bowl where he's getting moved or just in a standstill position only because the guy in front of him is just lower than him. So
yeah,
can he get low and use his power? That's something to look at as well. I like Jackson Hawes. They doubled up at corner with Strong and Hancock from Ohio State and Virginia Tech. And then they went to Kadon from Kadon Panther from Maryland, a Big Ten school, wide receiver. So they went in here saying that we need to get defensive players as much as possible to get younger and more athletic. I think they did it. And if like I said, you're looking for 4, maybe 5 of these guys to pop. And if they do, I think the Bills, I think it helps the Bills dramatically in this draft. They're one of the few good teams who had a lot of picks.
Yeah. No, I thought they did a good job. I mean, it's kind of crazy that you're looking at a situation where sometimes the draft. A lot of people say the draft is a crapshoot. I disagree with that. I think the draft is more of a preparation meets opportunity meets coaching staff in that regard. And I think the Bills, like you said, they have their guy. They have their guy in Josh Allen. He's the MVP for a reason. And you just add a ton of talent all up and down the you can go BPA, you can go scheme fit because you have Josh Allen who's going to bail you out of most and cover a lot of deficiencies for the team. And so Maxwell Harrison, obviously the darling of the draft. Everybody loved that, his video about dapping up everybody that got drafted and finally getting his shot to be out there on the stage at pick 30. Like, awesome. They got huge on the defensive line, like huge. TJ Sanders, Landon Jackson, Deion Walker, they got enormous on the defensive line. So they obviously have a premise for what they're going to do on that team. So I thought they had a great draft. Well, this is our last one, yeah?
Yeah, last one, go ahead.
So my number one, year after year after year, they just let the draft come to them. And year after year after year, they just kill it. No surprise, Baltimore Ravens, best draft in my opinion in the entire league. Next to the Patriots in my mind, that was one you took as well that we had the same. Malachi Starks is not a 27th overall pick. I thought he was a top 15, top 14 player. They put him next to the best safety in football, and Kyle Hamilton. He's going to come out now. They let Mike Green follow them. I understand the allegation situation. They were comfortable with it. They're a kind of a pristine organization. when it comes to look, we're going to do our due diligence in that, and whatever's going to happen is going to happen in that regard. We're going to trust our process and trust that we're going to be able to. Our infrastructure is going to mold these guys into where we want. I thought their first three picks were basically all guys that could have went 15, 20 picks earlier. I thought Mike Green was a first round talent. He fell to them at pick 59. Shockingly, right after the Raiders picked their guy at 58. It's just is what it is at that point. Emory Jones, I thought could have gone in the high third round area, probably even a second round grade on him from LSU, the tackle. I thought it was interesting that they took a kicker in the sixth round, given the Justin Tucker situation. They prepared for that as an organization in that regard. I thought Aeneas Peebles, it was in no way, shape, or form was a sixth round pick. I thought he was a fantastic get for them. Smaller interior defender, but a guy that is just like absolute tenacity and technique. That's the type of guy that you coach up into a Pro Bowl type talent, into a sack artist guy. I thought Garrett Dillinger was another LSU guy that they got off the offensive line. That was great. Like, I just really, really, really liked it. They addressed offensive line. They got players that they needed in terms of linebacker, edge. They got safety help. Like, I thought, once again, Baltimore Ravens killed the draft. They had one of the best drafts this time, letting the draft come to them, not making any crazy, reaches, not making any situations where they didn't improve their team immediately in that regard. They're already one of the best teams in football, and this is why, because they keep getting the draft. I wouldn't say handed to them, but they keep playing the draft where they don't have to panic, and like the talent falls to them, and all they do is reach out their hands and put the ticket in. And that's what it feels like with this team over and over again. So kudos to them. Kudos to Eric DaCosta and, that whole organization. They just know how to draft talent well. They know how to let the draft come to them and take advantage of when talent falls to them. They're smart enough to pull the trigger when they do, and there's always good results on the field because of it. So shout out to the Ravens. Malachi Starks was an A+. Mike Green was an A+. Emory Jones was an A+. Aeneas Peebles, LaJohntay Webster, Tyler Loop, all A+ picks. And then they're going to be able to coach up guys like Teddy Buchanan and Carson Vincent in the middle rounds like that. Carson Vincent, another one of those, SCS guys.
And I would say also, Tyler Loop, don't let that go without notice, folks, because when Tyler Loop gets drafted by a team that never takes the kicker, it might tell you that the kicker that they have might be an issue.
On his way up. Yeah.
We'll just leave it at that. We'll leave it at that. Leave it at that. As far as that goes. All right. Fans. The last thing I want to note is that the signal caller will continue. I'm happy to definitely do this with Solo. I think it's great. Well, we're gonna kind of do more around the league. I think we've kind of exhausted the Raider part of it. So I think
it's time to transition into better things.
Yes. You said not me. But I don't want to keep beating a dead horse because no matter how we analyze the Raiders, it's always going to come back to them drafting a quarterback in the first round, and that's our feeling about it. So we're going to go around the league. The stuff, and if the Raiders do anything, we'll definitely peek in and give you our thoughts about it. But I think it's just better for the show to kind of go around the league. If you want to do some Raider stuff, obviously the Put On Raiders podcast with myself. I'll do shows either by myself or with or Ryan Holmes, who this is the busiest time of the year for him. If you don't know, he works in baseball and was a scout, so he's really busy at this time of year. So I would just say, so definitely I'll hit you up with that, but also check out the Put On Raiders podcast, the Put On Giants podcast, Signal Caller, and also the Student Body Right USC podcast. All right, folks, take care. Peace.